Well, it appears to be that time of year again where WWE wants to clean house as we got another big batch of releases, much like we did last year. This year, 9 so far and counting. Samoa Joe has been released from WWE, along with Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, the Iconics. Mickie James, legendary women's wrestler. Chelsea Greene. Tucker, poor Tucker. You saw that one coming as soon as they split up the team. You know Vince saw a little bit of money in Otis, at least a few bucks. As soon as he split up that team, man, Heavy Machinery, you knew Tucker's days were were numbered. Kalisto got released. Bo Dallas, we haven't seen him in a long, long time. I was a big Bo lever of Bo. I liked a lot of what he did. I watched his NXT run. I appreciated what he was doing, and that sucks, but hey, is what it is. Wesley Blake as well got released. The reason given by Johnny Ace, according to Sean Ross Sapp. Budget cuts. We got to cut the budget. This, of course, after just signing a $1 billion deal with NBC Universal to be on the Peacock Network. This right smack in the middle of their $1 billion TV deal. This is a company that is making more money than they have ever made in their entire history. They're making money hand over fist. Say what you want about WWE's creative, how boring ass their show is. They are making so much money they gotta shove it up Bruce Pritchard's ass to store it all. But yet they need to make budget cuts. So they need to release a bunch of people during a pandemic. What are you gonna invest your money into? What do you need that money for that you had to cut it from the talent roster? And I'm not even saying it's a bad thing that you had to cut talent, because any company needs to cut talent like that, or if you're a wrestling promotion, you need to do that once in a while. It's okay to clean house and get rid of people you're not using or people that aren't really coming along the way you'd like them to, yada, yada, yada. But then there's always big surprises on this list, like Samoa Joe, really? Not only was he amazing and believable in the ring, not only is he a veteran that can give a wealth of knowledge to the younger people, not only is he respected by his peers, but he's also good at commentating. He could be a good manager. Give him anything you want. He's going to knock it out of the park because he's Samoa fucking Joe. Budget cuts. Need to cut the budget. Need to save a few bucks. Things are getting tight around here. About to take the water coolers out again. Big ongoing story there. A lot of these people are going to find a new home. Samoa Joe, for one, obviously. Samoa Joe can pick where he wants to go, I'm sure. At this point, he could end up in New Japan. He would have some amazing fights over there. He could always go back to Impact. That was his home for the longest time. Or Ring of Honor, which was also his home for the longest time. Both would be happy to have him. Hopefully he ends up in AEW. I want to see him on, if he's not going to be in WWE, I still want to see him on the biggest stage that he can be on. I want him to be a star. I want him to be a household name still. I hope, AEW is going to pick up some of these people, and then Ring of Honor and New Japan and Impact will pick up the rest. Maybe not so much New Japan, but certainly Ring of Honor and Impact will dip their toe in this pool of talent. But certainly AEW would probably have this pick of the litter if it wanted. I hope, if I was AEW, here's what I would do. If I was AEW, I would immediately reach out to Samoa Joe, let him know you're interested, and when he's able to negotiate. He might be now. I don't know if the 90-day non-compete bars him from negotiating a new contract. He just can't be on TV for any new brand within 90 days. So I would reach out to Samoa Joe right now. I would reach out to the Iconics right now. Some of you are maybe not a big fan of their wrestling, or maybe not even a big fan of their act, but I think there is a lot of value in the Iiconics as a duo, especially with AEW's shoddy women's roster. I think they could use an Iiconics. I think they should pick up Chelsea Greene as well for the same reason. Fluff up that women's division. And quite honestly, I wasn't gonna add Mickie James to this list, but she might be a good one to have around to have some wisdom and age and experience in the women's locker room. Somebody that can kind of be a player coach of sorts there. But certainly, her husband's in NWA, so she may end up there as well. That's the way I would go, but I do expect to see a handful of these people show up on AEW, and that's going to stir up the whole WWE rejects. AEW just a bunch of WWE rejects. It'll stir that up again, but as I've said before on this show, I push back against that. I don't believe in that as a rule of thumb. I think it can be a problem if that's like what you do with your roster and you try to make main eventers out of everybody. But at the same time, if you're intermixing your own talent with them, I think talent is talent, and you pick up people who you think could benefit your roster. I think AEW needs women's talent right now, so they should rate as many of the women as they can. Absolutely the Iconics, absolutely Chelsea Greene, and most likely Mickie James just for her experience. And then, Samoa Joe, like, if you were Tony Khan, would you not want Samoa Joe? And I don't know that Samoa Joe is a WWE guy. I don't see him as a WWE guy. Do you? That was his most recent run, but I wouldn't call him a WWE reject. He's spent just as much time, if not more, in Ring of Honor, and he spent more time in TNA. So if anything, he's a TNA guy. But he doesn't have that TNA stink on him either. So I think he's a great asset. I think he's a journeyman. He's a guy that's been around. He's just Samoa Joe, and he'd be great to have. Anyway, definitely had to touch on that. Can't just go through this podcast without addressing the biggest story of the week. Hopefully everybody here lands on their feet well. I'm sure they will. I'm not worried about it. Probably will end up better off. Let's face it, right? Maybe their paycheck's not going to be as big, but creatively, they should be able to land in a good spot. Hey, thanks for checking out that clip. Don't forget to check out other clips here on the channel. And while you're there, throw a like, throw a subscribe. And don't forget to check out full episodes each and every Sunday of the Pro Wrestling Podcast.